for a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele. The legal battle to free himself from the grip of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is falling apart. In another legal defeat, Justice Chukwujeku Aneka of the Federal High Court, Lagos, ordered the final forfeiture of properties valued at 11.14 billion and 1.04 billion naira linked to him to the federal government. Justice Aneka gave the order after listening to an application filed by the EFCC following temporary seizure of the properties on the 5th of June after entertaining an ex parte application moved by the Commission. The court directed the Anti-Graft Agency to publish the order in newspapers to enable any interested party to come to show why the final order of forfeiture should not be made. So, it's going for him. PKO, is it God? Because I remember you said no one will contest this. And indeed, no one did.
No one want to go to jail. They have done a lot of spade work before coming out before approaching the court to list this property for forfeiture as proceeds of fraud, or suspected to be proceeds of fraud. So what we have seen now is individuals believed to be close to Emefiele who are used to buy those properties. But the EFCC is convinced that Emefiele actually owned them. Big people in Nigeria use people to buy stuff for them. They buy a house in your name. They are not bothered. The deed of assignment will be done. Their names won't appear. But the income will be going to them. It's always they know how to do it, and such people are sometimes made to swear on oath, never to open their mouths to say, look, so person got me to buy this on his behalf. So it's usually difficult. You will not, they don't do such transactions using a banking instrument that you can then trace. They sometimes will pay with foreign currency. So when they pay foreign currency, how do you trace it? How? So if they pay through the bank, the EFCC will be able to follow the money trail. But they are smarter than that. They don't. They will use foreign currency. That's the end of it. They pay cash for this thing. They don't go through the bank. The law says you must go through the bank if you are doing transactions that are huge. But our people have found a way around it. And that's why you see somebody who is very well to do is difficult to point to any building that you can actually say was bought in his name. They won't even buy these things in the name of their children because they know it will be easy to trace. But what the FCC is saying is that there are two current and former staff and one former staff of the CBN believed to be very close to Emefiele. These are the people that must have helped, to buy these things on behalf of the CBN governor. And if people don't come forward to say, look, it belongs to me, that's the end. If the money goes, the properties go back to the state. After all, you bought them with funds believed to have been stolen from the state or from proceeds of crime, like bribes and all that. You have no right to take bribes. So if you bought a hefty building from the bribes that you took, then the state has the power to seize the property, and eventually that money goes back to the public till. So it's a good thing that this is happening to the Emefiele. When people saw him, running his mouth during the time when he made the rest of us to suffer, you would think that he was a Puritan. But we've seen now that this man is nowhere near being a Puritan. Ability to speak English and hoodwink people does not mean that you are clean. Ability to carry king-size Bible into the four walls of a court does not equate you to a saint. It's difficult to find a saint in Nigeria. I don't even think there's anyone. So no one should try to deceive us with King Kong-sized Bible. And Nigerians suffered in the hands of Emefiele. Honestly, people will be happy with what is going on.
Has any former CBN governor faced this high number of charges?
No. No one. He exposed himself to a lot of things. The way he ran the CBN, no CBN governor ran the CBN like that. No. He ran the CBN like a little god who could do anything. And because we had an administration that allowed his excesses, if not, the day Emefiele thought in his heart that he could contest for the presidency of this country, a CBN governor, that was the day that President Buhari should have fired him. But they left him alone. And he continued to do things that we could only imagine that a CBN governor would do, and they allowed him to go on. So what do you know? We have not recovered small and medium scale enterprises. A lot of them died during the period when they didn't make the Naira available. You wanted to change our currency. The time ceiling was not enough. People even went to CBN office here in Lagos. Thousands of people. You saw the suffering of people. You saw women being carried across bank walls. You didn't see anything wrong in that. In fact, some delusional journalists wearing cheap Asian fabric, suits made out of cheap Asian fabric, they sat in their studios to say, we stand by Emefiele. What can they say now? The truth is by nature self-evident, and no matter how long it takes, the truth comes out. What can those people pretending to be journalists, because it's not everyone who calls himself a journalist that is a journalist.
Absolutely.
Some have never even practiced. They are just privileged to sit in a TV studio and they call themselves journalists. Under who did you train? Which journalism school did you go to? Do you even know how to filter a story? You've never gone through that. You've never stepped out of your studio to do a story. Point at a story that you ever did. Let us see it. Not to talk of a groundbreaking journalistic effort. But you can stand by Emefiele. You don't belong in our profession. If you stand by somebody who made Nigerians to suffer. The duty of journalists is to correct the ills in our society. If something is bad, you tell the government, this is bad. The day I will not be able to talk about things bad in our country, it's better God takes me. It's better. What am I doing? What's my value if I cannot say, this is bad, let us change this? I don't have to abuse you, but I will tell you it's bad. We've lost friends, but it doesn't matter. But where journalists side with the oppressors of the people and say they stand by a man who made people to die, you know that those ones are conscienceless journalists. They should actually be hanging out with some of the worst people who ever lived on earth. The Allende's of this world, Allende of Chile, Pinochets, all those murderers. Be hanging out with them, let them know that as a journalist, those are the people who are your heroes. Because you cannot say that it is good to watch women being carried, because thugs had come to attack bank premises, and women were being carried across the walls of the banks so that they can escape. And you saw a man who caused that to happen, but you had the effrontery to say you stand by him. Let us see you publicly stand by him now, with all the revelations that are coming up.
Thank you, Vicky. Dr. let me come to you. How do you react to this?
Well, it's good. At least it's a way forward. Once you have doubts about things like this, you claim it. And since no one came forward, the next step is to... But I'm amazed that people still go this way, this path. Because I'm trying to imagine if in one suit is losing property worth over 12 billion, then how much has he amassed as just one person? It's amazing. Because how much is he going to spend the rest of his life? That he needed so much money. And that's still one part. We have not been told. In fact, it's not even possible to unveil everything.
You can't see everything.
Because you can't find everything. You can't. And sometimes we've heard in the past how people in position of authority in Nigeria have even lost some of these things that they acquired to foreigners.
That's true.
At least, thank God, this one is within. We've seen some. Some have given money to foreigners and they couldn't retrieve. Losing money that Nigerians could have made use of. I can imagine what 12 billion will do, even for a state that will consider rich like Lagos. Imagine 12 billion coming in. It's a lot of money. So our public officers need to know that the acquisition of wealth in this way is not good for the country. That's why you find a lot of people justifying certain demands that they make from government. Because if one man could take 12 billion, then we also should be able to have part of that thing, even when they know that that demand doesn't make sense. That's why you find people on the street who believe that every man they see on the street driving a car is a thief.
Yes.
That's why you find them thinking that way.
Or any man who is based in Abuja. When Sanusi was imposed as emir, by the Kwankwaso administration, there were riots. He couldn't even come out.
He couldn't.
They had to ban him inside the government house. Houses were burnt, people died.
People died at that time.
At that time, whenever they saw anybody with an Abuja number plate, they will come for you. Okay. They were attacking people. They believed that those were the oppressors. Because that person was not the choice of the kingmakers at the time. Yeah. It was just government magic that they did. Today, they don't want us to talk about some of these things.
Of course.
Why would we not talk?
So,
why would we not talk? When even you, if you pick your phone and you Google it,
you will see it there now. It's always
hall
there.
Called Coronation Hall inside the government house. Kano, was so named because that was where the coronation was done.
Well, quickly, we need to wrap up. What lessons do you think technocrats can take away from this Emefile case? Because in Nigeria, we usually think politicians, career politicians are the worst.
No. It's ignorant people who think like that. Civil servants actually teach politicians how to steal.
Yeah.
So they are the ones who know how you can do it without leaving any trace. Yes. We see people come into government that didn't know anything in the real sense. They didn't know how do we go about it. They are the ones, they are knowledgeable about processes and procedures. They are the ones who will say, no, if you do it this way, it may bring problems. They will coach you. They will coach you. Remember the case of a civil servant, A civil servant, I investigated a case of a civil servant who was on level 9 and had estates in Abuja. Yes. I investigated that case.
We've had so many of them. One dies of recent.
Civil servant, too. Remember the case of the civil servant who had more than 84 flashy cars inside his compound. Now, even Rosso, I think, was a director.
The director died of recent.
So how can I say
that had the same kind
how are politicians dirtier than civil servants? They know now that they are the ones who put where they are. Politicians are still learning work. They are learning work. 84 flashy cars, a lot of them bulletproof cars, and jeeps.
That's a lot.
After this program, Google it. You will see that person's name will pop up. You will read the story.
All right, gentlemen.
They are richer than the president. And some of them earn salary higher than the president's salary.
Even allowances.
Yes.
Huge ones that they corner.